Introduction: Why most people break under pressure. Every day, there is a battle happening not always on the outside, but inside. It's a battle of emotions, ego, and power. And in this struggle, the greatest enemy you face isn't the one standing in front of you, but the one who controls your mind, your emotions, and your energy. Most people think that to defeat an enemy, they need to fight. They believe that winning means striking back harder. But the truth is, the most powerful victories come without lifting a finger. Real strength doesn't come from destruction. It comes from mastery. Have you ever noticed that those who try to hurt you, those who want to bring you down, often expect you to react? They thrive on your anger, frustration, and retaliation. The moment you respond, you've already lost. Not because you're weak, but because you've allowed them to pull you into their game. What if you decided not to play? What if, instead of reacting, you stayed unshaken? Silence can be a weapon, not the silence of fear, but the silence of power. When someone insults you and you don't react, they lose control. When someone tries to break you and you stand firm, they feel powerless. This is the first step in defeating an enemy without fighting, denying them the fuel they need to keep attacking. The second step is transformation. The negativity, hatred, and jealousy people throw at you can either break you or lift you up. You decide. Instead of wasting energy on revenge, channel it into your own growth. Become so strong, capable, and successful that their attacks lose all meaning. There was once a wise master who was constantly insulted by a man in his village. Every day, the man would throw hateful words at him, trying to provoke a reaction, but the master never responded. One day, a student asked, "Why do you let him insult you without saying anything?" The master smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The enemy's words, their actions, their intentions are all like gifts. If you refuse to accept them, they remain with the giver. Don't carry the weight of someone else's hatred. Leave it where it belongs." But silence is not always enough. The third strategy is using patience as a weapon. A wise warrior doesn't rush into battle. He waits, observes, and lets his enemy destroy themselves. When someone is filled with anger and resentment, they are already at war with themselves. If you simply step back and watch, they will eventually fall by their own doing. Time reveals everything. The one who tries to destroy you today will often be the one who destroys themselves tomorrow. Your job is not to fight, it's to outlast. The fourth strategy is unpredictability. The more predictable you are, the easier it is for your enemy to control you. If they know your weaknesses, they will attack them. If they know what angers you, they will provoke you. But when you become unpredictable, when they can't read your emotions and don't know your next move, you hold the power. Move in silence. Let your success be unseen until it's undeniable. The most dangerous person is not the one who shows their strength, but the one who hides it until the moment is right. Finally, the fifth and most powerful strategy becomes so elevated that you have no enemies. When your mind is clear, your energy strong, and your vision focused, no one can stand against you, not because they fear you, but because they no longer matter. When a lion walks through the jungle, does it stop for every barking dog? No, it knows who it is. When you know your worth, when you understand that no enemy is worth your energy, you rise above them. If you truly want to defeat your enemies, don't fight them. Master yourself. Focus on your growth so much that they become invisible. Be so committed to your purpose that their words fade into the background. Be so powerful in your silence that their attacks turn to nothing. In the end, you will realize there was never a battle to fight. True power is not in defeating others. It's in rising so high that no one can reach you. There was once a man who sought the wisdom of a great master. He had spent his whole life chasing success, relationships, and recognition. Yet no matter how much he achieved, he still felt restless and burdened. It was never enough. The more he tried to hold on to things, people, wealth, status, the more they seemed to slip away. Frustrated and exhausted, he asked the master, "Why do I feel so empty despite having everything?" The master smiled and handed him a cup of tea. As he poured the tea, it began to overflow, spilling onto the floor. The man jumped back, startled. The master looked at him and said, "This is your mind full, overflowing, grasping, but unable to hold anything more. Until you learn to let go, you will never be free." Most people live in a constant state of attachment. They're attached to success, relationships, validation. They hold on so tightly, fearing loss, that they don't realize they are suffocating the very things they love. They believe control brings security, but in reality, control only brings suffering. Life is not something you can hold on to. It flows, changes, and evolves. Those who understand this do not fear losing. They understand that real strength lies in detachment. Detachment does not mean indifference. It doesn't mean running away from responsibilities or becoming emotionless. It means engaging fully in life, but with the wisdom to know that nothing is permanent. A warrior fights with all his heart, but doesn't mourn the battlefield. A river flows with strength, but doesn't cling to the stones it passes. This is the art of detachment, to give your best to the moment, yet remain free from the outcome. Imagine a man who plants a tree. He nurtures it, waters it, protects it from storms. But if one day the tree withers, he doesn't fall into despair. He understands his duty was to care for it, not to control its destiny. The same applies to everything in life: your work, relationships, dreams. Do your best, but don't be owned by the result. There's a story of an ancient king who ruled over a vast kingdom. He had everything: power, wealth, servants at his command, but deep inside, he was always anxious, always afraid of losing what he had built. One day, a sage visited his court and gifted him a simple ring with an inscription, "This too shall pass." The king was puzzled, but the sage explained, "Wear this at all times. When you are in sorrow, read it. When you are in joy, read it." Years passed, and the king faced moments of great triumph and deep loss. Each time he looked at the ring and remembered, "This too shall pass." Slowly, he began to understand that neither success nor failure was permanent. He learned to embrace each moment with gratitude, but without attachment. For the first time, he felt peace. This is the wisdom that few understand. Most people live in extremes, clinging desperately to pleasure or drowning in sorrow. But detachment teaches you that both are temporary. If something brings you happiness, enjoy it fully, but don't fear its end. If something brings you pain, endure it with patience, for it too shall pass. A person who has mastered detachment is unshakable. When others panic, they remain calm. When others are consumed by desire, they remain focused. They are like a mountain standing firm, unmoved by the storms of life. This is true power, not in controlling the world, but in being free from its control. Imagine walking through a marketplace filled with treasures, beautiful sights, and tempting offers. You admire everything, but you don't feel the need to own it. You appreciate the beauty, but you remain free. This is how life should be lived, experiencing fully, but without chains. Many people mistake attachment for love, but true love is free. If you love someone, let them be who they are. If you love your work, do it with passion, but don't let failure destroy you. If you love success, pursue it, but don't let it define you. The moment you need something to be happy, you've given it power over you. The mind that clings is always restless. The mind that lets go is always free. If you have something, cherish it. If you lose something, move forward with grace. Life is like the ocean: waves will rise and waves will fall. But if you learn to surf the waves instead of fighting them, you will never drown. There is great strength in knowing that nothing in this world truly belongs to you. The only thing you own is your inner state, the ability to remain peaceful, regardless of the chaos outside. When you reach this state, you will realize that true happiness does not come from possession, but from freedom. A person who has faced challenges and found a way forward is unstoppable. Weakness only becomes a true weakness when we allow it to defeat us. The moment we decide to own it, to learn from it, and transform it, it becomes a strength. Think about a caterpillar. It may view its cocoon as a prison, a place where it's trapped, but inside, transformation is happening. When it emerges, it's no longer a crawling creature, it has wings. The way we see our struggles, fears, and limitations can make all the difference. If we view them as prisons, they'll hold us back. But if we see them as opportunities for growth and transformation, they can lift us up. Take, for example, a person who struggles with public speaking. They could see it as a weakness and avoid speaking in front of others, or they could practice, refine their voice, and become an exceptional speaker. A person who is physically weak could either complain about their limitations or train hard to build incredible strength. Someone who grew up in poverty could choose to feel sorry for themselves or use their struggles as fuel to achieve greatness. Every weakness holds the potential for strength. The question is, will you nurture it? Will you take what seems like a flaw and turn it into an advantage? A diamond, for instance, is just carbon that has been under immense pressure. The same pressure that could destroy it is what makes it shine. Similarly, your challenges are shaping you, refining you, and molding you into something greater. If you resist these challenges, you remain ordinary. But if you embrace them, you become extraordinary. Next time you feel weak, next time you think you're not good enough, ask yourself, how can I turn this into my greatest strength? The moment you start seeing weakness as an opportunity, everything changes. Nothing in this world can stop someone who has learned to turn obstacles into stepping stones. You were never meant to stay small. You were never meant to let your struggles define you. Your journey is one of transformation. The moment you stop seeing weakness as a curse and start using it as a tool for growth, you become unstoppable. There was once a great warrior who never fought a single battle using brute force, yet he never lost. His opponents feared him, not because of his strength, but because of his silence. He would enter the battlefield, observe his enemies, and say nothing. While others shouted, threatened, or acted in haste, he remained calm and unshaken. His strategy was never to react, but to respond with precision. One day, a young challenger, filled with arrogance, mocked the warrior in front of a crowd. The warrior simply smiled and walked away. The challenger, growing angrier, followed him, insulted him, and provoked him. But the warrior said nothing. Days passed, and the challenger exhausted himself, consumed by his own anger. The warrior never lifted a weapon, yet he had already won. This is the power of silence and strategy. Most people believe that victory comes from aggression, from proving their strength, or from fighting every battle that comes their way. But true power lies not in reacting, but in knowing when to act, how to act, and, most importantly, when to remain silent. Silence is not weakness, it is control. It is the ability to hold back when the world pressures you to react. It is the ability to observe, to learn, and to strike only when the time is right. Think about a lion. It does not waste energy chasing every noise in the jungle. It waits, it watches, and when the moment is right, it moves with precision. How many times have you let people provoke you? How many times have you wasted energy trying to prove yourself to those who don't matter? The person who argues, shouts, or fights over every little thing is not strong. They are controlled by their emotions. But the person who stays silent, who carefully plans their steps, speaks only when necessary, is the one who holds true power. History shows that the greatest victories were not won by force alone, but by patience, intelligence, and restraint. The greatest warriors were not those who swung their swords at every opportunity, but those who knew when to keep their sword sheathed. A samurai was once asked, "What is the most powerful weapon?" He replied, "The mind that does not react." This is strategy. This is wisdom. A person who masters the art of silence does not waste words on meaningless battles. They do not engage in unnecessary conflicts. They understand that energy must be conserved, focus must be sharp, and words must be used precisely like a blade, only when necessary. The one who cannot remain silent is a slave to their emotions. They are easily manipulated, easily provoked, and easily defeated. But the one who stays silent when others expect them to react is the one who controls the game. Imagine being in a negotiation where the other person expects you to plead, to argue, or to react emotionally. But instead, you remain composed, you listen, and you speak only when necessary. Who holds the power in that situation? Not the one who talks too much, but the one who speaks the least, but controls the direction of the conversation. This principle applies to every aspect of life. In relationships, the one who reacts emotionally to every situation loses their influence. But the one who can remain calm, who carefully chooses their words, and listens more than they speak, holds true strength. In business, the one who rushes to prove themselves or panics under pressure loses their position. But the one who observes, acts strategically, and does not waste energy on small battles rises to the top. In life, the loudest person is often the weakest. The one who complains, argues, or constantly seeks validation does not control their destiny. But the one who moves in silence, who builds without announcing, who strategizes without exposing their plans, that person is truly powerful. Silence is not about doing nothing. It's about knowing exactly when to act. The strongest warriors, the greatest leaders, and the most successful individuals all understand this. Reacting in the heat of the moment leads to mistakes, but moving with intention leads to victory. There is an old saying, never let them know your next move. The world is full of people waiting for you to expose your weaknesses, to react emotionally, to act without thinking. But if you learn the art of silence and strategy, you become untouchable. Let others waste their energy in noise. Let them burn themselves out trying to prove a point. You do not need to prove anything. The strongest one in the room is not the loudest. It's the one who listens, observes, and speaks only when it truly matters. Move in silence, think strategically, and act when the time is right. This is how you win. There was once a tree that stood tall on the edge of a cliff. The winds howled, the storms raged, and the rains poured down with fury, but the tree remained standing. Other trees fell because their roots couldn't hold against the pressure, but this tree never wavered. When travelers passed by, they marveled at its strength. "How do you not fall?" they asked. The tree simply stood firm, its roots deep in the earth, unshaken by the chaos around it. Strength is not about avoiding the storm. It's about standing tall in the middle of it. Life will test you. People will challenge you. Situations will shake the ground beneath your feet. The question is, will you bend? Will you break? Or will you rise above it all, unshaken? Most people live their lives reacting to everything around them. If someone insults them, they get angry. If they face failure, they lose confidence. If the world doesn't go their way, they collapse. They are like leaves blown in, whichever direction the wind takes them. But then there are those who remain still, unshakable no matter what comes their way. They are not controlled by their emotions. They are not broken by circumstances. They have mastered themselves, and because of that, nothing can break them. Think about the strongest people you know. Are they the ones who panic under pressure? Are they the ones who complain when things get tough? No. The strongest ones are those who face adversity with calmness, those who do not allow the external world to shake their inner foundation. Life will throw difficulties at you. It will test your patience, your strength, and your belief in yourself. But you must not waver. When others doubt you, stand firm. When the path is unclear, keep moving forward. When the world tries to break you, smile and show that nothing, absolutely nothing, can shake your spirit. There is an old story about a wise man who lived in a village. No matter what happened, good or bad, he always remained calm. When people praised him, he didn't become proud. When people criticized him, he didn't get angry. When he lost something valuable, he didn't despair. A young man asked him, "How do you remain so steady?" The wise man replied, "Because I do not allow the world to control me. I control myself." This is the secret to becoming unshakable. The world will always be unpredictable. People will not always be kind. Situations will not always be in your favor. But your strength does not come from the outside. It comes from within. A mountain does not move because the wind blows against it. The ocean does not dry up because the sun is too hot. And you should not fall apart just because life gets difficult. Most people let their emotions control them. If they're happy, they feel powerful. If they're sad, they feel weak. But true power comes from stability, from knowing that no matter what happens, you will remain steady. If someone insults you, do not react with anger. If you face failure, do not collapse in disappointment. If things do not go your way, do not lose hope. Because the moment you let the outside world dictate your emotions, you become weak. But the moment you decide that nothing will shake you, you become truly powerful.